I will learn to strike, I will learn to fly. I will learn to kill, I don't learn to die.
The Sinking City is a very interesting game. I'm not saying it's Deadly Premonition caliber, but it's, well, I like it in a very similar way. The game itself is a third-person adventure, and I don't know if the investigation aspect of it's really scripted. So, and it uses a lot of the game's mechanics to have like the supernatural sense, and it's pretty linear for the most part. There are side quests and stuff to do, but it's really, well, there are a couple of times that it's a little easy to get lost, but most of the time it's pretty clear where to go. Fairly linear for the most part in terms of the direct narrative. The story takes place in the, God, what era was that? The 1920s, and you play as Detective Charles Reed, who has these visions. Sorry, going without a script, so I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Last time I played it was literally months ago, so I'm trying to think. But anyways, you play as Charles Reed. He's a detective, and he's going around this town called, I really should have done notes for here, Oakmont, which is a fictional city in the eastern region of the United States of America. So basically you go there, you're following up on what exactly these visions are, and you find out that there are other people that have these visions, so you're kind of trying to link it all together, and during that you have some moral decisions to make. Something that's really cool is the fact that different storyline threads can have a definitive end to them, so you can basically have a tree of decisions to help person A or person B. Person A leads to this, this, and this. Person B leads to this, that, and there. What the fuck am I saying? Anyways, and basically, depending on which route you choose, it can change the direction of the narrative pretty drastically. You pretty much have to make these decisions at each pinnacle point in the story. So it's very interesting to see. It's kind of reflective on the player, but also you have to think tactically what is the best route to go sometimes in terms of what you might have a more difficult time with or not. But yeah, there's a lot of forms of media that try to take on the Cthulhu aesthetic and creepy vibe, and I don't feel that too many do it that well, but I think Sinking City really does hit it dead on. It is by Frogwares, which is and of course published by Focus, so go figure. But it's broken a lot of the time, but I can't say that the brokenness of the game doesn't sometimes lead to the charm. I haven't lend to the charm. I can't say that I had too many moments where the game broke in a way that wouldn't proceed, but there was a couple of times, or at least one time, that I did have to reload because an instance wasn't loading in properly, so I couldn't progress, and I thought I was stuck, but the game fucked up. But other than that, it's more aesthetic stuff. Like, you'll go around and someone's just doing something, an NPC's just acting very odd. There's really no rhyme or reason to the way that the citizens interact with each other or around the world. It's very much a obvious scripted and lack of true AI with the NPCs, but it's still good despite all the jank. You get a decent amount of weapons. You do have to kind of use your stuff, your supplies sparingly, so it has a kind of survival aspect. I guess you could kind of say it is somewhat of a survival horror game, depending on how much the monsters do scare you. I'm easily scared, so go figure, it scared me a lot. But yeah, you do have to kind of play smart with your resources, and you can craft more ammunition and whatnot, and first aid kits, and you also progress a skill tree, which you eventually can unlock some pretty good perks that'll not make the game necessarily a cakewalk, but definitely more convenient than your standard issue abilities from the beginning. It takes a few twists and turns that I don't want to ruin in terms of what happens throughout the mainline story narrative, but that I did somewhat enjoy, and also was taken aback by some of the subject matter that they addressed in the game. I mean, it is Lovecraft's in terms of the Cthulhu universe, so go figure. But I think, it had that warning at the beginning about, basically, hey, Lovecraft was a racist, so something in here is pretty racist. Please understand. But again, it's done within context. I wouldn't say there's a very tasteful way to do it per se, but It doesn't necessarily overtly offend, though some may disagree. But yeah, other than that, it's a really good game. Do I recommend it? That is a bold question. I can't say that I can recommend it to anybody, just like I can't really recommend Deadly Premonition. Correction, I do recommend it to everybody, but I understand why people may not get into this or Deadly Premonition. They're just have a very... They have charm to the jank, which is not common in most video games. Most things are usually just jank and shit. This is a game I found jank and charming, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. Whether or not it's worth $50 to you, which I believe is the MSRP, couldn't say, but I would recommend it. And maybe if you get it for 20-30 bucks, I would highly recommend it. Check it out. Let me know what you think about it, but I personally loved The Sinking City, and it was one of my most favorite games of 2019.
Water is death.